Hello and welcome. Thank you so much to Aging Well Torbay Festival at Home for inviting me here to talk about dementia and about specifically how to beat dementia. My name's Jonathan Hanbury and I'm a dementia nurse specialist. I worked for the NHS for about 20 years, and a few years back I took the decision to launch a social enterprise that helps families and individuals living with this illness across South Devon. So I'm passionate about supporting those who are living with this to live their very best lives they possibly can. Now, the title might be a little bit of a misnomer in that it isn't necessarily how to avoid dementia or how to beat it if I don't have memory loss, but more about how to support those who live with this currently or who are supporting someone with memory loss so that they can live as fully as they possibly can within this illness. So I have got 10 minutes today to tell you how to beat things. And I'm going to just give you 5 clear tips, 5 things that I think really make a difference. But to start off, let me just give you some facts. And I'm sure that many of you know these facts already. But dementia affects around 1 million people across the UK. That said, possibly somewhere as high as 1 in 3 of us come across or are affected by this illness through knowing someone or being connected with someone. Dementia is an umbrella term, so it's understood that although we use the word dementia, it actually has multiple different diseases that all affect our cognitive function or our memory. So we use the word dementia, but this includes Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, Lewy bodies dementia, and many others. Unfortunately, we don't have a cure, not yet. But and medication has very limited benefits in this illness. So we have to come up with ways outside of the usual medication to pause or support someone with this. It is one of the big killers of the UK today. I think it topped #1 in the last few years. And it's important to remember that it isn't a natural part of old age. It is a disease. It is affecting our neurons, and it's a buildup of proteins that can affect the neurons. But there are 86 billion neurons in our brain today, so I'm sure we can beat it together. So 5 small tips. The first tip will seem obvious, but it's often one we don't do. And that is to continue to use mental exercises. So the brain is incredibly complex and clever, but it needs, just like any muscle, to be using it, to use exercise. Now, this could be Sudoku, it could be crosswords, could be puzzles, but it's also about using it in terms of chatting to new people, of talking, of putting yourselves in new situations, of not being scared to go out and push your brain and keep yourself busy. So mental exercise, we have to try not to stay indoors and try not to sit and watch hours of television, but actually to go out and think of ways to keep ourselves busy and keep ourselves stimulated. So tip 1, mental exercise. Tip 2, you can't do this alone. So someone who lives with memory loss is often their first reaction is to stay at home or to not put themselves in risky positions, but to be scared of actually doing things they used to do. But it is so important to maintain the socializing, to think, actually, I need to do the mental exercise and I can't do this on my own. I need friends, family, neighbors, communities, specialists to support me in my memory and support me in my stimulation. So go out and find clubs or ask your family to find community groups, memory cafes, mind coaches, specialists in all this. But recognize that we need to do this as a community or as a group, and that you can't manage on your own. So exercises, can't do this alone. Tip 3. Now this one is much more aimed at those who care for someone living with this illness or families who support someone living with this illness. And that's important for them to recognize that someone who has dementia can no longer learn new things, and they often fail to be able to remember simpler activities of their daily living life. So it might be using the microwave, or it might be laying the table, or it might be finding the sugar. So it's really important that that person who's caring for someone living with this illness is to change the world that the person lives in, to look at enabling them to live as independently and safely as possible. That might be using a sign on every door so they know which room is which room, making sure they change the bedroom so it's next to the bathroom. But in changing anything, recognizing that that can make people confused. Putting out things on the counter of the kitchen so that they're visible and easy to access and easy to reach. But it is always a balance between holding someone's dignity and changing the world so that they can function more easily within it. So every caregiver and every family need to recognize that that person has changed and can no longer do what they may used to do. And we need to change the world around them to make it easier for them. So tip 3 is change the world we live in. Tip 4. So this is a long illness. It can last well over 10 years for people. And again, this is concentrating on that person helping or supporting someone living with this illness. So you need to build the resilience of that person. So if you're a caregiver, you need to continue to do things that you find enjoyable and fun. You need to build support and time for you. And that means creating a network of support that helps you. That does 2 things. One, it creates multiple different people that are engaging in someone's life so that they can keep stimulated, that they can trust more than a single person. They don't rely on only one person, that they, as the disease progresses, they don't feel nervous or scared of going into new situations. So the more people that we can bring into this illness, the more the person living with the disease feels comfortable in working with and being with strangers. So it's important to bring in strange people into the life. The second thing is building a network of support for that caregiver. So the caregiver can continue to go for a swim or have some time out in the evenings or do things that are enjoyable and lovely for them so that they can continue to feel resilient and continue to love and support the individual. So this can be anything they want. It doesn't have to be traditional networks of support. You can think in any different way. It could be cleaners, could be families, could be friends, could be the day services and professionals, clubs, memory cafes, volunteers, children, dogs. Any way you can build a network of support is the better. And it's important to recognize that this network needs to begin immediately. It doesn't need to start once you begin to get tired, but the quicker you can bring in lots of people, the better. So the more stimulating it is and the easier it is to support someone. So if someone asks you for help, take them up on it. If they say, oh, we could cook you dinner tonight, say, yes, that would be lovely. It's all too easy to say, actually, I'm fine, or I don't need it, or to isolate and to find the world becoming smaller for you rather than larger. So tip 4, build a network of support. Tip 5, our final tip of the day, and I think is the most important and sometimes hard to really get. And that's to recognize that someone's world has become immeasurably more complex and challenging when they've got this illness, and that they lose their sense of self-belief, their sense of identity and self-confidence. And the person, family member, friend, neighbor who is supporting someone with this illness needs to recognize that the end result is no longer important, but it's actually the doing that becomes important and the praising for that. So that can be tasks like loading up the dishwasher. It doesn't matter if the dishwasher is loaded incorrectly or the wrong things are in the wrong place, or you're laying the table and the spoons are under the table instead of on top of the table. The end result no longer becomes important, but it's the actual doing of an activity together that gets the pleasure and enjoyment. And then the praise and the laughter and the affirmation that comes with any activity that is done. So it's become so important to find real pleasure and enjoyment in doing something rather than getting angry and upset when the result is incorrect or the person can no longer do something that they used to always do. So if they used to always cook and they no longer can actually cook correctly, but you have a fun time making a cake, then it's taking pleasure in actually the doing rather than the end result. So take pleasure in something together and don't focus on what went wrong. So those are my 5 simple tips in how to live life to its fullest and try and beat some of what dementia offers. In summary, that means exercise the brain. You can't do this alone, so ask for help. The caregiver needs to change the world to enable the individual. You need to build a network of support around you, and you must take pleasure and joy in the doing, not the end result. But if I can help in any way, or you'd like to know more information about dementia and about our services and what we do in South Devon, then please do get in touch. Our website, email, or our telephone number are there, and we'd be very happy to help. Thank you.